You know something I've been thinking about? I don't think comparison starts on social media. I think social media just exposes it. Comparison has always existed. Long before phones, long before followers, and long before likes. People have always looked at somebody else's life and wondered why it looked easier, why they seemed happier, why they had more money, a better family, a better childhood, more opportunities, a better relationship. And if we're not careful, comparison becomes the lens we see our entire life through. Instead of appreciating where we are, we become obsessed with where everybody else is. Think about how often people measure their life against somebody they barely know. They see a picture, a vacation, a new house, a relationship, a new business, and within seconds, they convince themselves they're behind. But here's the problem. They're comparing their reality to somebody else's highlight reel. Nobody posts the sleepless nights. Nobody posts the panic attacks. Nobody posts the arguments. Nobody posts the failures. And nobody posts the moments they sat in their car wondering what to do next. We compare ourselves to a version of somebody's life that doesn't even exist all the time. And eventually, we start believing we're losing a race that nobody asked us to run. I think one of the most dangerous questions people ask themselves is, why am I not where they are? Maybe there's nothing wrong with the question at all. Maybe it's the direction. Because maybe the better question is, am I becoming a better version of who I was yesterday? Because that's a race you can actually win. Comparison usually steals gratitude. Think about that. The moment you compare, everything you already have suddenly feels smaller. You stop appreciating your progress. You stop celebrating small wins. You stop noticing how far you've come. Because your attention isn't on your journey anymore. It's on somebody else's. I've learned something about life. Everybody's carrying something. Everybody. The person you envy is carrying something. The person you think has the perfect relationship is carrying something. The person who looks successful is carrying something. The person who always seems happy is carrying something. That's why I've stopped assuming I know someone's story just because I can see part of their life. You never know what somebody else had to survive to get where they are. And you never know what they're still fighting when nobody's watching. Comparison also changes the way we define success. Instead of asking, what does success mean to me? People ask, what looks successful to everybody else? Those are two completely different questions. Maybe success for somebody else is making $1 million. Maybe success for you is rebuilding your family. Maybe success is staying sober. Maybe success is becoming the parent you never had. Maybe success is finally sleeping peacefully at night. Success doesn't have to look the same for everybody, but comparison convinces people that it does. I've noticed another pattern. Comparison usually creates one of two things: either insecurity or arrogance. Some people compare themselves to people ahead of them and feel like they're not enough. Other people compare themselves to people behind them and start believing they're better. Neither one is healthy. Because the goal was never to become better than another person. The goal was always to become better than the version of yourself that existed yesterday. That's why I think growth is personal. It isn't public. It doesn't always get applause. It doesn't always get noticed. Sometimes the biggest victories in your life are invisible. Nobody claps because you handled your anger differently. Nobody throws a party because you finally forgave somebody. Nobody gives you a trophy because you walked away from a toxic relationship. But those moments matter. Sometimes they matter more than the accomplishments everybody else can see. One thing I've realized is that peace and comparison cannot live in the same place. The more you compare, the harder it becomes to enjoy your own life. Because there's always going to be somebody else with more. More money, more followers, more influence, more opportunities, more recognition. And if that's how you measure your worth, you'll never arrive. So maybe the answer isn't getting more. Maybe it's appreciating what's already in front of you. That doesn't mean you stop growing. It doesn't mean you stop chasing goals. It means you stop believing your value depends on keeping up with somebody else. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's timeline is different. Everybody's story is different. And that's okay. Because the point isn't to live somebody else's life. The point is to become the person your experiences are shaping you to become. At the end of the day, your story doesn't have to look like anybody else's. Your healing doesn't have to happen on someone else's timeline. Your growth doesn't have to impress the internet. It just has to be real. So instead of asking, why am I not where they are? Maybe ask yourself, am I moving forward? Because if the answer is yes, keep going. One step, one decision, one day at a time. That's enough. And sometimes that's exactly how real change begins.